Hello, my name is Joshua and I'm 12 years old. Over the past years, I've learned a lot about Tibet. And just like many other children, I am worried about the violation of human rights in Tibet. The Tibetan children in exile deserve a future in a free Tibet. The drawings you can see are by Tibetan children in exile in India. The artists are between 6 and 18 years old. One of the most unusual countries in the world is Tibet. It is located in the Asian highlands, and it is 3 times as big as Germany. This faraway country is full of legends and dreams, and home to many unique things. Some of the magic is made up of the Dalai Lama and his followers, as well as yaks and very thin air, all surrounded by the breathtaking mountain range of the Himalayas. When His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama was born on July 6, 1935, no one knew there was anything special about this baby. His parents, who were poor farmers, named him Lama Tundup, which means wish-fulfilling goddess. He was born in a small village. At this time, Tibet was an independent country with a peaceful Buddhist population. All children were still able to grow up observing their religious beliefs, speaking their Tibetan language, and living their traditions. Lama Tundup has 2 sisters and 4 brothers. Tsering Dorma, the oldest sister, is already 18 years old when her mother gives birth, and she helps to deliver the future Dalai Lama. At that time, his youngest brother, Tenzin Chogai, has been recognized as the incarnation of a High Lama. The family felt honored, and no one expected that there might be 2 reincarnations in the same family. The Buddhist concept of reincarnation means that a person will be reborn as many times as it takes to learn from your mistakes and become enlightened. A Dalai Lama is the highest political and spiritual leader in Tibet. He is believed to have gone through all reincarnations and comes back out of free will to make the world a better place. When Lama Tundup was almost 3 years old, a search party arrived in his village. The High Lamas had been sent out by the Tibetan government to find the boy, who is the reincarnation of the 13th Dalai Lama, who had recently died. The group had been led by a number of signs, and the little boy recognized them like old friends and called out, "Siralama, Siralama," which was Kvetang Rinpoche's monastery. They brought with them a number of things that had belonged to the 13th Dalai Lama, together with several similar items that did not. In every case, the infant correctly identified those things belonging to the 13th Dalai Lama, saying, "It's mine, it's mine." The other things he barely touched. Lama Tundup was only 4 when he was acknowledged as the Dalai Lama. As the spiritual leader of Tibet, he lived apart from his parents and family in cold temples and monasteries. He became a monk, had his head shaven, and started to wear nothing but the maroon robes, especially in the Potala, their gigantic and cold winter residence in Lhasa. Life seemed hard. There were no other children to play with, but endless religious studies and many mice. Fortunately, after a while, his brother was allowed to live and study with him. In 1949, the Chinese neighbors were taken over by the communist regime. 1 year later, Mao Zedong and his People's Liberation Army stated their intention of liberating Tibet and moved along to do so. Tibet's little fighting force consisted of 8,500 men, while the Chinese army approached with 8,000 soldiers. In order to have a leadership, the 15-year-old Dalai Lama was given all political power 3 years earlier in 1950. Now the teenager Dalai Lama was the leader of 6 million people in the middle of a horrible war. He tried to find friends among the international countries and traveled to China for peace talks and negotiations. Both attempts failed. 2 weeks later, his eldest brother arrived in Lhasa. He had been kept prisoner by the Chinese in his own monastery. They used the time to indoctrinate him and make him think the Chinese way. They had a plan where they would let him go free in order to persuade his brother, the Dalai Lama, to give up and accept Chinese rule. If the Dalai Lama would not listen, his brother was expected to kill him, and the Chinese would reward him. The Chinese scheme did not work out. The brothers stayed true to each other. During the next 9 years, the Dalai Lama tried to avoid a full takeover by the Chinese and to calm the Tibetan resistance fighters. In March 1959, the situation became really strange. The local Chinese general invited the Dalai Lama to a dance show all by himself. When the people of Lhasa heard of this unusual invitation, tens of thousands of Tibetans came in front of the summer palace Nobulinka to protect their leader. That same night, the Dalai Lama, dressed like a normal soldier, walked through the crowds in front of his palace and left on a tiring 3-week journey. Since 1959, the Dalai Lama used the time in exile to raise awareness for Tibet and to look for support across the world. His approach for autonomy is peaceful, but the situation in Tibet has gotten worse. Every year, more Han Chinese settle in Tibetan cities. The Buddhist religion became illegal. Anyone who carries a picture of the Dalai Lama can be thrown in jail. Tibetan as a language is no longer allowed in schools and kindergartens, and the Tibetan are expected to live as if they were Chinese. The Tibetan culture and its variety is about to die out. Every year, around 2,000 Tibetans risk their lives crossing the Himalayas to exile in India. Only in exile they have a chance to live as Tibetans. I would love to see that all these 10,000s of children in exile have a chance to live their Tibetan culture fully and go back to their homeland to live as they choose. Let's do something about it. Thank you for listening.